All right, just real quick, welcome to Dallas Singles, boy, that goes back, Dallas Social Toastmasters. And this, of course, is St. Patrick's Day. So if you've tried to park tonight, you understand the issue with it being St. Patrick's Day. It's been a mess out there today. I'm a little disappointed that our Toastmaster didn't take up my suggestion of the green underwear party day. So I tried, he didn't do it. If you happen to have them, feel free to show them. Other than that, oh yeah, and of course, if you have them, show them. So other than that, we will go ahead and get our meeting started. We're going to try to keep the noise down as much as we can because we don't necessarily have a really loud speaker here tonight, but we think we've got everything going. If you have trouble, Lee, let us know. In particular, you can probably, tonight you can actually text me on my cell because my cell is not doing the broadcast or one of the feeds. Okay, thank you so much.
One other thing before we get started, that was not sanctioned by Toastmasters.
No, I go rogue.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Toastmasters. Back here on our usual Thursday night. I want to welcome some guests tonight. I haven't got all your names, so I will just say hi, but we will talk to you at the end of the evening. And we'll go ahead, and yes, this is St. Patrick's Day. So if you would all please stand and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance to start our meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, yes, I'm wearing green, but it's out of my underwear. I exposed. There we go. And tonight our theme is St. Patrick's Day, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on St. Patrick and what's going on and why we celebrate his being there. Got it? Yeah, there we go. So St. Patrick's Day, or actually St. Patrick was actually born in 400 AD in Roman Britain, and he is the patron saint of Ireland, and he's patron saint of Ireland because of what he did in his life. Now, when St. Patrick's grandfather was a priest, his father was a priest, but he didn't really believe in Christianity and he didn't really buy into it when he was young. But when he was 16, he was actually kidnapped by Irish pirates, and they took him and sold him into slavery in Ireland. So he grew up in Ireland as a slave, and when he became 22 years old, he started to believe in Christianity. Now, legend is St. Patrick ran all the snakes out of Ireland. Now, I don't know if there aren't really any snakes in Ireland or not. I needed to look that up and I didn't. Sorry about that. But that's one of the things he's known for. But what he did do was go around and share Christianity with all the people over there in Ireland and all the other slaves and all the other people that were indentured. And he taught them about the Holy Trinity using a 3-leaf clover. Now everybody knows the 4-leaf clover is that lucky one. Well, that never comes into effect. That's just a little myth or thing that we just drew up. So you'll find out there are several things about St. Patrick's Day that have nothing really to do with St. Patrick or Ireland or anything else. But what I'd like to do now is introduce you to our duty holders and have you hear what their duties are and what they're going to be doing tonight. We're going to start with our timer, who is Lisa Mitchell. Lisa, will you explain the timer's duty, please?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and welcome guests. As timer, I will be helping the speakers practice expressing a thought with a specific time. My duty is to time prepared speeches table topic speeches, and speech evaluations during this week. The green card that indicates qualifying time. The yellow card is target time, and the red card, you have 30 seconds to finish up. For 5 to 7 minute prepared speeches, I'll show the green card. And at 5 minutes, the yellow card at 6 minutes, the red card at 7 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to finish. For table topics, each speaker is encouraged to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. I will show the green card at 1 minute, the yellow card at 1 minute and 30 seconds, the red card at 2 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to finish. For evaluators, you have 2 to 3 minutes. The green card is shown at 2 minutes, the yellow card at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the red card at 3 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to finish. If you speak under the time or over the time of more than 30 seconds, you will be disqualified and will not be eligible for awards. However, for table topics, you must speak at least 1 minute. I will report qualified time when called upon throughout the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lisa. Our next duty holder for the evening is Tom Taricki, and he is our grammarian. Will you explain what the grammarian does, sir?
I can read my sign. So as grammarian, I'll be looking for particularly good or egregiously problematic uses of the English language, and I'll be taking notes throughout it. I'm also, as grammarian, I also introduce the word of the day. So the word of the day for this week is officious, which means overly assertive of authority, especially in a domineering way, or especially with respect to, petty or trivial matters. So each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day during their presentation. Table topic speakers, in order to qualify for table topic awards, you have to use the word of the day. At the end of tonight's meeting, when called upon, I'll give a report on both use of word of the day and table topics, and also a grammarian's report.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Our next duty holder on the list is going to be our vote counter, which is Suleiman. Will you explain what the vote counter is?
Before I do, I looked up and there are no snakes.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
And so Ireland is one of many countries where there are no snakes, and others are Ireland, Iceland, Greenland, Hawaii, New Zealand, and parts.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
So, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Oh, yes.
We're not getting it. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. As vote counter, I will collect and count the ballots, which are over there. They should be on your table. When the audience votes for the best speaker, best table topic speaker, best evaluators, and the best of the big three. The big three are the Toastmaster, the table topics master, and the general evaluator. I will record which person wins in each category. I will not cast a ballot myself, except in the case of a tie, in which case I will cast a vote to break the tie. I will not announce a tie vote. Place your vote in one of those containers, the blue containers on your table. At the end of the meeting, I will announce and award the ribbons to the winners, and the ribbons are right there on my table. The ballots also have space to write comments to each speaker, evaluator, and table topics. Please place comments in the containers and I will deliver them to the appropriate speaker. Feedback is appreciated because it helps the speakers improve. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I think we have all the snakes here in Texas, so we make up for Ireland. Nice. Next duty holder tonight is our all counter, and he's already been in action, Mr. Rob Giles.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members, guests. As your counter, I will be listening for any crutch words that you may be using. And when I hear them, you will hear this click. This is to allow you or to alert you to the fact that you used a crutch word. What are some crutch words? There are some others that are used frequently, like so, like, you know, which are crutch words of a different sort. I might not catch all of those, but definitely when I hear an an or an you're gonna hear that click. I won't do that during the prepared speaker, but I will do it throughout the rest of the meeting, and then I will give a report when called upon by the general evaluator. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rob. And the last of our duty holders tonight, it says Posture Bill and it says Wasif, but actually he couldn't make it. So Kim Crandall is going to be our posture monitor. So Kim.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Posture Bell, I will be looking for appropriate gestures, anything that distracts or is not meaningful, such as pulling your hair, clothes, glasses, side, anything that's not purposeful. I will not ring the bell during prepared speech, but rest of the time, I will ring the bell, but I will give a report during the evaluation portion of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kim. St. Patrick's Day. Let's look at a couple more traditions. Wearing green, as we've been demonstrated by our and most of us in the room have got some kind of green on. Ireland is the Emerald Isle. St. Patrick always used clover, this kind of the Holy Trinity. So green was just a natural color. Now, the reason we celebrate March 17th as St. Patrick's Day is that is the day that he supposedly died. There's no actual record that exactly that day, but that was the day that he died. So every year we would celebrate St. Patrick. Now, in America, as we all typically do, is we go way overboard and we wear green everything, green head tail, all kinds of stuff like that, especially like on St. Patrick's Day. And if you came down here over the weekend, you probably saw green to beat the man because of the parade. Now, in Ireland, they don't do parades, okay? The parade started in New York City in 1766, and the parade's been going on annually since that time, with the exception of COVID. They kind of didn't do it one year. But parades are strictly an American part of the St. Patrick's Day. They don't do it over there. Another interesting thing is, you know how St. Patrick's Day, we're all just getting blitzed on green beer? Okay, well, they don't have green beer in Ireland. And actually, you're supposed to abstain from drinking on March 17th. With the Catholic Church, it's a holy day of obligation, so you expect to go to church and you're not supposed to be drinking. But as usual, we twisted to what we want to do. So there you go. Now I'd like to move on to our prepared speaker tonight, and that's going to be Lee King, and he's going to be on the television set. But Karen Lee is his evaluator. So Karen, will you share us what these goals are tonight? It's an icebreaker.
This evaluation, so
It's an icebreaker.
it's an icebreaker. So I'll go ahead and give a general evaluation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we know the title? Okay.
Yes, let's do the time as 8 to 10 minutes, I guess.
What's your title? Do you have a title?
New Age Icebreaker.
Okay. So, I'd like to join our prepared speaker tonight, it's Lee King with New Age Icebreaker. 8 to 10. New Age Icebreaker, Lee King.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight, I'm going to give yet another icebreaker speech. Now, for those of you that are new to Toastmasters or less familiar with Toastmasters, the icebreaker speech is the first speech that anybody gives in Toastmasters to introduce themselves. With the fact that I have been in Toastmasters for over 15 years and in this club for over 15 years, I've given, I don't know how many icebreakers, but yet with the change in pathways, everybody has to give more icebreakers. So to change things up, I decided that I would give you all an opportunity to ask me any questions that you may have, and I will introduce myself that way. So it's more of a interview style icebreaker rather than me repeating myself for the umpteenth time, basically saying the same thing about myself. So with that, do I have any volunteers that would like to fire away with a question?
Lee, I would ask you, can you tell us a little bit about your occupation?
Yes, I am an occupational therapist, so I help people get back to all of their activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, grooming, any and everything they have to do to take care of themselves throughout the day. And then also, I'm currently in school because I am working on getting my master's in higher education to teach biology and anatomy in some of the pre-allied health sciences. I taught at Mountain View in their occupational therapy assistant program, enjoyed it, and realized that I needed to get more teaching credentials to spend more time in the teaching field. Does someone else have another question?
Yes, what are some of the favorite things you like to do, like hobbies or anything like that?
For hobbies, I always tell people that Toastmasters has become a big hobby for me. I enjoy meeting new people, getting out and speaking about things that are interesting to me, especially among the biological sciences, as well as leadership. And I enjoy the different challenges of negotiating through different speeches, different populations, clubs, groups of people. And then finally, outside of Toastmasters and speaking, I also enjoy bowling and doing things outside, like walking and biking. Let's take another question.
Hey, Lee. So what made you originally want to join Toastmasters?
I was one of the non-traditional people that joined Toastmasters because I actually enjoyed speaking publicly. And at the time, I had moved out, I was on my own, I was in an apartment, and really my life consisted of going from home to work and back home and not much to really do. So I remember hearing about Toastmasters when I was in undergrad, and my speech professor actually suggested I join Toastmasters because he could tell that I really enjoyed speaking and acting and things of that nature. So I decided, at the time I was single, I decided why not try out a singles club? You never know what might happen. Long story short, I did not meet my wife at Dallas Singles Toastmasters, although we did meet in Toastmasters. I believe I have time for yet another question.
So what are some of your favorite principles as they relate to speaking?
My favorite principle, I believe, is always taking the time to practice. Anytime you have the opportunity to give a speech, give it a shot, because you never know, that might be your best speech. I'll give you an example. We had both speakers today text saying that they canceled both pretty much at the last minute, which left no speakers for tonight. I quite frankly had no idea what I was going to do for a speech, but I decided I would take the opportunity for doing a speech. I was looking through different paths and I realized that I needed to give another icebreaker speech. So I thought, well, given the fact that I'm doing this literally at the last minute and the fact that I've got plumbers going through my house, maybe this new style would be an inspiration for other people to try new things. I do have another question from, it looks like Seema.
Yes, thank you. I have two questions, actually. Looks like you're an expert in this arena, so I'd like to know what your journey has been from the beginning to now. And secondly, I would just like to know more about how the entire program is processed, how, like, things that I may not know yet, if you could kind of shed some lights on that. Thank you.
Sure. So my journey started out going to Toastmasters every Thursday night at Ozona. Things then shifted as I took on new leadership roles. I began to go visit other clubs, meet new people, and through those connections, I managed to grow both personally and professionally. And some of my best friends, my lifelong friends, have been Toastmasters. When I got laid off and I needed health insurance, for example, there was another Toastmaster that helped me find health insurance. She worked at Presbyterian, knew of a group that provided insurance. I also had the opportunity to network with other people in different regions and go to the international convention, which was really amazing. Got to meet people from all over the world at many different events. It was a week-long event, definitely worth doing at least once in your lifetime. But as far as how to get involved, the most effective thing is to just sign up and start joining. You're getting involved in the club meetings. You're going to have butterflies in your stomachs, but I guarantee you it's going to be definitely worth it in the long run. Do I have any other people that are interested in asking questions?
Sure, I have one. To get where you are, you've gone through several programs and several manuals in the Legacy series and some pathways in the new one. Which ones did you enjoy and like the most and why? And which ones did you hate the most?
Just briefly, let me help define to people that are new to Toastmasters what the difference between the Legacy and Pathways program. The Legacy program is the program that was originally started when Toastmasters first started, and then Pathways developed here recently in the past couple of years. I think the most fun projects have been some of the ones where you have to stretch yourself and enjoy and find out how to meet some of these odd objectives, like how to put together panels of people to lead discussions and how to facilitate awkward environments. Those were definitely very fun and challenging at the same time. I think that the time that I've actually grown the most has been in the last 2 years since COVID, and the fact that we went through a couple of years of going completely virtual. And that has dramatically changed the way that presentations have been done, job interviews have been done, and I don't foresee that changing. So in closing, I will just tell you to definitely embrace the challenges as they come and know that things that seem so far off and minuscule, such as a virtual meeting, could potentially be the way that you'll find your life going from here forward. So definitely take advantage of every challenge that you have fun along the way, and we certainly hope to see Toastmasters as part of your life journey as well. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lee. Very good speech tonight. Now, let's get a couple more things about St. Patrick's Day. The traditional meal on St. Patrick's Day is, if you haven't had some today, we served it at work. Corned beef and cabbage. That's traditionally what they eat. That's more of a rural thing. That's what they did in the country. The city people had more parties and stuff like that. The rural people stayed at home and they had a nice big dinner. And a lot of times they followed up the dinner with horse races. Now, what horse races has to do with anything, I don't know. But it became a very big tradition for the Irish. So I need a timer's report from Lisa. Lisa, did Lee qualify on time?
Yes, equal credit, 9 minutes and 49 seconds.
Thank you. So now we don't have to vote for who we thought did the best speaker tonight, since there's only one. But please take the top of your little ballots and stuff if you'd like. Share comments with Lee, put them in the cup, and then we'll get, huh?
He's online.
So we can still get him comments. You gotta fight me, prop. Okay, fine. I'll just fall on you, you'll be gone. They do. In the city, they fight. We just made that one up.
You
Okay.
can always
new
write
tradition.
comments, put them in the cups and then take pictures of the comments I can read.
Okay. You can always just scan them and send them to them too. All right. So now everybody's through interrupting the Toastmaster. One last thing, you just killed my thought. You know that right? Okay. So a couple of things we need to take away from this is parades, green beer is America. The Irish typically just wear a little kind of corsage of green clover and stuff like that. They don't get all carried away and deck out like, you know, like the green-eyed monster. I don't know. And you're killing my train of thought. Oh, very important. And I saw this on the internet on one of the things about St. Patrick's Day. It is not P-A-T-T-Y. P-A-T-T-Y is a girl's name. St. Patty's Day is P-A-D-D-Y. So anytime you see St. P-A-T-T-Y, you can tell them, y'all are crazy. It's P-A-D-D-Y. Y'all don't know anything, do you? So we're going to continue with our Irish tradition, maybe, and move on to the next portion of our meeting, which is table topics. Now, our table topics host tonight is Mr. Mark Schroeder.
Thank you, John. And yes, this is table topics. I'm going to do your table topics later, which means that I ask a couple of questions, 3 or 4. I'm going to ask a few questions, and I'm going to call on people at random to answer the questions. Guests, you will be given an opportunity if you want to take one. You're not required to take one by any means, but if you would like to have one, I will ask it after you've got a chance to see if people do it. Quick recap of the rules. It's 1 to 2 minutes. You have to make it at least 1 minute, which means you have to make it to the green flag. You'll get the yellow flag at 1.5 and the red flag at 2 minutes. At 2 minutes, you still have 30 seconds in order to wrap it up. Okay, so you got to make the green. So it's 1 to 2.5, really, but you'll see the red at 2. You also have to use the word of the day, which is officious, which is, let me make sure I get this exactly right. Assertive of authority in an annoying or overbearing way. Okay, so we have to use that in order to qualify for one of the ribbons tonight. I will start with questions, and the questions are at least loosely related to the theme, but the first one is certainly very, very close to it. This last weekend, we had a St. Patty's Day parade. Sorry, St. Paddy's Day parade. Kind of definitely don't enunciate the T. And that was down here on Greenville Avenue. You probably have seen maybe still some of the signs up for it. Have you ever been to a St. Patty's Day celebration of any kind? And if not, why not? I haven't been to this one down here in a few years, although I have very definitely been to this one. Have you been to any? And if so, which one did you go to? What did you think? Would you never go again? Would you do it again? Or why did you never go? Now this question is going to go to, let's go ahead and give it to you, Tom. because you live down here. You might know.
Thank you, Mark. Fellow Toastmasters. At the risk of sounding overly officious, thank you for asking me. I appreciate it. I wouldn't call myself an expert in St. Patty's Day celebrations, but I have been to quite a few. Back in my single days, we used to go to the bars all the time. All of the bars would have St. Patty's Day celebrations, typically on the Saturday before. And I remember I have many, many fond memories. Although I will say, one of my fondest memories of a St. Patty's Day celebration was not going to bars as a single guy, but rather going to the Greenville Avenue St. Patty's Day parade when our kids were little. My wife, before our kids were in elementary school, was asked to form what's called an early childhood PTA, which is a social group and a PTA group for kids that are coming into the school. So she did so. There was lots of pre-K kids together as a play group, really, and they got together, and one of the parents who was new to the area said, a parade, a St. Patty's Day parade, let's have a float in it. So she signed him up, and come parade day, they were given their slot. We had the truck and the trailer and pulled into their slot right in front of baby dolls. We got lots of questions, not so many beads, but lots of questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, I used to do the ones that were down here, and it was interesting. One of the best places at the time was Vera Paredes to go to for the St. Patrick's Day parade. I don't know I don't think Vera Paredes exists or has for many, many years at this point, but it does bring up an interesting question, because I'm going to bring up a question about cultural appropriation. Because if I remember correctly, Vera Paredes did a wonderful St. Patty's Day thing, and they're an Italian restaurant. At least that's my recollection of it. Now, I do St. Patrick's Day, obviously, at least the green underwear part, despite the fact that I have nothing Irish in any of my background. I also culturally appropriate Mardi Gras, although I have no Cajun, not even French in any of my background. And I really love Halloween, and I am in no way or sense dead. So I culturally appropriate a lot of different things. I'm just curious, is there any particular holiday that you practice your cultural appreciation or cultural appropriation of, because it's not really part of your heritage, but you still enjoy it? Now this question is going to go to Suleiman.
So I feel like when people ask you to participate in cultural holidays, I feel that they're being officious. And I actually do not participate or celebrate any cultural holidays. Although there are many in my I grew up in Pakistan, so there are many traditional Pakistani holidays. But then I've lived in America most of my life, and we have Christmas and Thanksgiving, which everyone loves, but actually I don't celebrate those either. My favorite meal to have during Thanksgiving is McDonald's. And I love it. I've had it people always get amused that I have McDonald's for Thanksgiving, but I try to keep my mindset towards life is every day is a celebration. And every life is a vacation. Every day is a vacation. So I don't need to take a vacation to go on a vacation, and I don't need to celebrate Thanksgiving to have Thanksgiving. So that's kind of my mindset. In terms of that bell made me lose my train of thought. So in terms of coming back to cultural holidays. So, if I was to celebrate a holiday, St. Patty's Day would be a good one. I've been to St. Patty's Day parade one time, even though, I went to college here at SMU in 2006 to 2010, and now I've lived here in this neighborhood since then, so 2010 to 2022. So 16 years I've lived within 1 mile of this place. And so the parade always happens here, but I've only been one time. And the one time I went, it was good, but it was too chaotic for me. There were too many people around me, and I felt claustrophobic. So That is my speech for the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, probably one of the last times that I was sort of down here for, not really a parade, but I was coming down on the train and had come down and was going back because of a hockey game that we were going to. The thing that was interesting was I remember we get on at like 9 or 10 o'clock after the hockey game going back downtown, back to far north Dallas. And this group of one guy and two women get on the train, and he's literally got her over his shoulder, trying to keep her from throwing up on him because they have over partied on Greenville Avenue for St. Patrick's Day. And it was fun. We were taking bets as to whether or not she would throw up on them or not before they got to their destination. She did not. I lost that bet. Okay. It's not really madness, but it is March. So March Madness. Who actually follows that a little bit? Is there anybody in here that follows that? I thought you might, actually. So the question that I'm going to have for you is, March Madness. I've seen a lot of things about March Madness brackets. What I've seen mainly about March Madness brackets are, if you get this right, we're going to give you this many dollars for your guess. So you have to put in your prediction, and if you manage to hit everything exactly right, they're going to give you thousands upon thousands of dollars. Tell me why and how in the world is that cost effective for them? What are they doing that is allowing them to give away the sums of money that they are doing just for your completing a bracket? And you may or may not, I don't know whether you have to do an entry fee, maybe you do, maybe it's all, you get everybody's entry fee if you want. I don't know, how does all that work? Tell me something about March Madness brackets, Rob Giles.
Mr. Toastmaster, March Madness. A few years back, it was something that I loved. I looked forward to every single year, and I felt this is an opportunity for me to finally win it all. I've done March Madness brackets for years. Never won. I've done other things regarding sports, not known as your traditional betting, but other things, fantasy stuff with sports that I've won at. But as far as the brackets are concerned, here is how it works. One, you can have a set of people who are doing it on their own. And people put in whatever they're going to put in, and whoever has the best brackets, gets the most correct, will win. But what Mark is talking about is the other side, which is this mass industry that has pretty much brought in as many people as they can, and the internet has only expounded upon that. The reason that they can do it and give away these things, this amount of money, is because at this point, it's a big business. And what goes with big business? Commercialization, advertising. So you have all these companies that are coming in, and people don't even have to pay to get into these fields, into these brackets. But they do, and the reason that these sports companies and betting companies have all of these and give away $1 million or whatever it might be is because they're making $1 million, $1 billion coming in from all their sponsors that are just flashing their ads all over the place on each website. And they're probably taking a little bit of your information and taking it for later when they can start to advertise again. And that's where the big money comes in. It may seem that as a small group of people, you might be organizing, it might be a little bit officious about it, but in the big picture for these big companies, it's all about the money, and it all comes from advertising. Back to you, Mr. Topic Master.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate the answer. It helps to explain where all of that money is coming from. I have a couple of questions left potentially for guests. We have one guest, Seema, on the virtual media, and we have several in the room. Are any of the guests interested in taking a question? You've seen how the game is played. Do you have it? Okay, we have one here. We have one here. And just, your name is? Crush, okay. So, may seem like an unusual question, but one thing that is really typical, they don't have any today, but they had some during the last weekend, was they do green beer. Some people just cannot stand green beer. But there have been other places that have taken that a little bit farther. And I'm not saying, you know, we're not talking green eggs and ham, blah, 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 blah. We're not talking Dr. Seuss, but places have done all green food. Not just the drinks, but they've had a green steak, they've had green mashed potatoes to go with it. Could you do an all green meal? There's nothing wrong with the meal, it's not tainted in any way, it's just been dyed. Would you be able to do it? If not, what would you do? What would your issue be with trying to do an all green meal?
Do I stand here or is it okay if I speak? Mr. Table Topics Master, ladies and gentlemen, just to introduce myself, my name is Prash and I go to Texas A&M in Laredo and just pop by a Toastmasters meeting so that I could meet some people, have some good stimulating conversation. But actually the Topics Master today has given something for me to think about a lot. Green beer. Mr. Toastmaster, actually I'm not really that familiar with St. Patrick's Day, but I've heard about it. Though I was Americanized growing up, I come from a part of India, which is like Florida without the hurricanes. It's a coastal state too, but we don't have hurricanes, but we do have a lot of floods. Now, coming back to the question, I've drunk beer. I'm more of a wine guy myself when I used to live in France. But green beer sounds a little weird when you first hear it because you're used to seeing beer yellowish all the time, yellowish orange all the time, and then you see people saying, yeah, we're going to do green beer, we're going to do something fusion. I'm a pretty conventional guy. I like to stick to traditions. If it's good, you don't fix it. You just take it as it is. Why do you want to change something? But if it's an all green meal, let me ask you, what would you have in your plate? Is it just going to be all greens? You can't have green meat. If it's green, then something is wrong with the meat and you're going to just have to throw it out. But yeah, it's very difficult to do an all green meal. And if you're gonna go to a party where you're invited and you're gonna be given all green food, I'd rather have an appointment with the hospital next day, just in case beforehand. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Prash. It turns out that in fact, a lot of the people that were at that meal and ate that meal did get sick for no apparent reason other than the fact that the food was the wrong color. If they had been either colorblind or blindfolded, they never would have noticed. It would have been fine. There's just something mentally about a green steak or green potatoes that are not supposed to be that way. All right, last chance for anyone else to take a question. Is there anyone who wants a question? I'm not seeing anybody raise their hands. Okay, so with that, let me go grab my list. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close table topics, but I do need to call on duty holders reports. We have two duty holders reports, one of which is Timer. Timer, how did our speakers do on their time today?
Everybody qualified on time.
Wonderful. All right, Lisa says everyone qualified on time. So the next question is word of the day. How many of our contestants used the word of the day?
Tom, Suleiman, and Rob Giles used the word.
Tom, Suleiman, and Rob Giles. All right, so that means that Tom, Suleiman, and Rob Giles, that's the intersection of the two. They are eligible for a vote for best table topics. If you would, please cast your votes on the little smaller ballots on the table. Guests, you are certainly welcome to vote. We would request, in fact, that you vote. You have an opinion of what you heard as well. And just place them in the little, I don't know, turquoise, whatever you want. Turquoise, what do you want to call these? Teal, in the teal cups, sea foam, whatever, I don't care. The little cups. And somebody will be around to collect those. Also, if you have any comments for any of our speakers and you'd like to pass back some comments, feel free to do that as well. I believe that's going to conclude my duties as Table Topics Master. The next portion of our meeting is going to be the general evaluation portion of our meeting. That is going to be led by Dagan Newland, who is on his way to the stage at this moment. Dagan, please join me.
All right, as Joey evaluator, it's my duty to evaluate the meeting as a whole and also call upon the evaluator to give her evaluation and call upon the duty holders to give their duty reports. So I'm actually going to call upon, first I'm going to call upon Karen to come give her evaluation. So Karen, you can please come up here and give her evaluation.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and especially Lee. Tonight, I'm going to use a 3-2-1 method to evaluate your speech. I'm going to give 3 things that I thought you did especially well, 2 things I thought you could improve upon, and 1 thing I thought you did exceptionally well upon. First, I thought you're very courageous to use the interview style format. You also have a lot of information to give us during your speech. You're also very comfortable answering different questions from different people in the audience. And I also appreciate the fact that you're very encouraging in your speech for giving information to new people. Now, a couple things that I thought that you could improve upon. I didn't hear a lot of variation in your rate or volume in your speech. Also didn't see a lot of great use of body language. And one thing that I thought that you did very well in was that you were very relaxed in speaking. You were very comfortable. I know you did say in your speech that you had a speech teacher that recommended that you join Toastmasters. And you were very comfortable in giving us a lot of different information. In summary, I thought you were very courageous to use the interview style. You were comfortable answering a lot of different questions. I appreciated the fact that you encouraged a lot of new people and gave them a lot of information. I would add a little bit of variation in speech rate and volume and add some body language. Thank you very much for giving us a very relaxed speech. Back to you, Mr. Jim.
All right, now I need to call upon a time report to Karen qualify from time.
It was 2 minutes even.
Yes. Karen qualified. Since we only have one evaluator, we will not be voting for best evaluator, but we do have comments, just like anybody else has been up here. If you want to have a comment for Karen and how she presented her evaluation, you can do that as well and get that to her. All right, so I'm going to move on to evaluating the meeting as a whole. So first, we did start a few minutes late, but that's fine. We had a couple guests coming in, so we're getting that squared away. So we don't want to really start the meeting while we're doing that. So that's good. And the theme tonight, definitely appropriate for the day, right? So St. Patrick's Day theme. So that's really good. And I know we had a few call outs here and there, and I think we got that really good organized. Lee stepped up to the plate to give a speech. We got the other roles covered. I noticed that after I walked in, I realized other people had already come the row, so good job on getting that done. And for table topics is definitely a good question for that. As well, the word of the day too. The word we get from grammarian, very interesting. I think everybody was able to get that in, so I think it's. I kept looking at because I never heard this word before. I kept trying to think if I get called on table topics, how am I going to use that there? But yeah, definitely a good word. And as for Karen, our evaluator, definitely did a good job. She explained how she's going to evaluate. She did the 3-2-1 method, so it's always good up front to show us how we're going to be evaluated. And she gave us good points on the evaluation. So, and of course, I heard you say something about body language, and I know that's kind of hard to do when you're on Zoom, and we all kind of experienced that when we were all fully Zoom. And that's something really when we're on Zoom that we really could kind of work on is when we're giving our speeches, maybe step back a little bit so we can see a little more of the body and at least more hand gestures. So overall, great evaluation, Karen. Really enjoyed it. So we're going to move on to our duty holders. So our first duty holder tonight is going to be Tom as our grammarian. So please give us your duty report.
Thank you, Dagan. As grammarian, I was listening closely for particularly good, luminous uses of language or egregious grammatical errors. I have to say, I'll say up front, spoiler alert, I did not hear any particularly bad errors or poor grammar. I did hear a couple turns of phrase that caught my attention that I thought were particularly well placed or nicely used. Oh, by the way, a shout out to Rob, who actually used our word of the day, officious, before we even started the meeting. So thanks very much, getting a jump on things there. Let's see, cultural appropriation. Mark talked about cultural appropriation a bit, and you had a slip of the tongue. You mentioned cultural appreciation one time, which I actually thought worked well. You know, there's a fine line between homage and satire sometimes, and it kind of made me think a little bit. I thought that one actually was a nice bit of serendipity there, the way that worked out. Let's see here, others. Oh, Rob, no, was it Rob? Oh, Suleiman, you had a couple really interesting points in your table topics. I think you said every day is a celebration, or every day is a vacation, or live every day like it's a celebration. And that really caught my attention. I really liked that. In addition to being a nice outlook on life, it was also somewhat thought-provoking. So I really liked that. And also very memorable, very concise way of delivering the point. Let's see. And then the last one I caught that I wanted to draw attention to was Prasha. You mentioned that you came from a place in India that was like Florida without the hurricanes. And that really got my attention. My first reaction is, wow, I want to go there. And then I thought about it more and I thought, wow, I really would want to go there if you had said it was like Florida without the hurricanes and the crazy people. All right, that's all that I had. Back to you.
Thank you, Tom. Our next duty holder is going to be our odd counter with Raja. So Raja, can you please give us your duty report?
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. We did a fairly good job tonight as far as ahs and ums are concerned. John, at the beginning, I heard one I clicked you at that point. After that, I didn't hear any uhs. At least, yeah, I think that was pretty much it. We did use so a lot in transition at the very beginning, going from sentence to sentence, but you gave that up. And I don't know if you gave it up for Lent or if you gave it up for St. Patty's Day, but you gave it up. Tom, when you were giving your duty description, you had 3 uhs. Also during was it table topics? Yeah, during table topics, you had 1. So you cut back even at that point, so that's good. Suleiman, I loved your table topic speech, but you did have a couple of uhs and about 5 ums throughout, but you were very energetic, and I appreciate that. Prash, you had a couple of uhs, kind of negligible, but I noticed them. Dagan, you had a couple of uhs. Couple of so's, you had 1 so at the end of a sentence, which I thought was interesting. Definitely a crutch so you can get to the next sentence. And a couple of kind ofs that really didn't need to be in there. Kind of this, kind of that. Well, we don't need a kind of, just go right into what you're saying. And that's it. So we did fairly well. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
You know, having you nose?
I didn't hear it.
It's okay there on that one, right? Okay, next and last duty holder can be Kim Crandall. So Kim can give your report, please.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight, I did notice a few things. John, I wouldn't call it really distracting, but when you were up there, you gestured pretty much with your right hand. So you did gesture with your left hand, and you did have a couple times when you did both, but it would have been enhanced if you used both hands. During your presentation regarding your duty, you had your glasses on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. And that was distracting. It's like, okay, is he gonna keep them on or is he gonna take them off? And you were handing it in your hand. And during table topics, Tom, you did have some hand clasps. Karen, when you were giving the objectives for the speech, you did have a hand clasp. Solon, I noticed that you did have several different things tonight. First of all, you did have some hand clasps. You had a prayer. You did have your hands behind the back. Other than that, everyone did a good job. Nothing too extreme, although do watch the hand clasp. Mr. General Evaluator.
All right, thank you, Kim. Thank you for everybody getting their report tonight. I'm gonna say that overall, just really great meeting, like I said, great topic, great speech tonight, good evaluation, and good wrap up with our duty holder report. So I'm going to turn it over to our president, Lee King, to, oh yes, one more thing, let's see. Vote for the big three. That'd be our Toastmaster, John Vessels, our topic master, Mark Schroeder, or our general evaluator, Dagan Newland. So you can make those votes now. And of course, one last time for any comments you want to make for anybody here that's been on stage. Oh, yeah, no best evaluator because we only have one, so we don't have to do it. So we're going to move on to now Lee King, our president, and he's going to go over the business portion of the section meeting. Take away, Lee.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters guests. Welcome to the business portion of the meeting. Want to start by introducing our guests.
Hold on, Lee, can't hear you.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that.
Oh, it's, oh, that's the assistant here.
Go ahead, Lee.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I will go through the business portion of the meeting. We have one guest on Zoom. I will start with her and then we will make our way around the room with guests in the room. But I'd like for all of our guests to take a moment to tell us a little bit about what brought them to Toastmasters, how they found us, and finally what they thought about our meeting. And we'll start with Seema.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. So I just want to improve my public speaking skills. Definitely need to work on that. And just meeting people. I'm new to Dallas. I've moved here from Houston recently. So just trying to, get to know the community. And I greatly enjoyed the various topics and learning about different speaking styles. So I have a long journey forward, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It looks like we have 3 people, 3 guests. Yes, 3 guests in the audience. So let's start with Octavia.
Hi, I'm Octavia. I'm also an occupational therapist. I've been a therapist for almost 20 years. And so I joined, well, I'm looking into Toastmasters because I'm not good of a public speaker. And I want to start my second career. And so I'm going to have to do a lot of speaking. So I'm kind of preparing myself and getting myself better so that I can be successful in my next endeavor. So this meeting was very, very, very informative. I love how you guys give feedback. It's not judgmental at all. It's just, hey, this is what you need to, do different. And it's just so welcoming and it's not constructive criticism, which I like. That's about it.
And Octavia, I don't know, you look familiar. I think we may have crossed paths in our past life or current.
Do I look familiar?
Yes, I think you do, actually. All right, next we have Amber.
Hello, I'm Amber. I have gone to a few Toastmasters groups throughout the years, but never officially joined. So looking for potentially a home. I am in marketing for commercial real estate and get the opportunity now with my current position to interact with a lot of executive level leadership. So I'm looking for chances to just expand my comfortability and confidence in those areas. And not be shy in stages and as a stage presence or in meetings. So that's what I'm looking for here. The meeting was great. It's great to hear different people speaking with different levels of comfortability as well. And you see people interact a little bit differently. So it's great to hear just again, like the different levels and also how people can sit there and elaborate on different topics just off the top of your head. I'm really envious of that. I'd love to expand on my skills there.
Thank you very much. I have at least one more guest that's signed in, and that would be Prash.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I've known Toastmasters for the better part of 6 years now, and I was a Toastmaster for 4 years. I decided to take a small hiatus in the middle, but I've been in clubs in both in India and when I used to live in France. I just came here because I'm visiting a friend who goes to UTD and I wanted something to do for the evening. And it's been a very long time since I had like I said in my table topic, a stimulating conversation. So this meeting was a good change of pace and it was good to see new things that are being done in Toastmasters. Like I've never had a posture monitor or an R counter who keeps telling you when you're doing the R's or ums. But yeah, it was a very nice evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We really only have one announcement for this evening, and that is that dues are due. If you are a current member, it is $90 for 6 months. If you are a new member, it would be slightly more. If you've not been in Toastmasters before, there is that one-time $20 new membership fee on top of the dues. And if you're like Crash and you have been in Toastmasters, but you're rejoining, you would not have to pay that one-time $20 due. So it would just be $90. And that is really the only announcement that I have. We will continue to be meeting virtually for the foreseeable future, although I will freely admit that I had every intention of being here in person, and then of course the plumber had to come at 5 o'clock, and I'm not going to make the meeting tonight in person. It will be virtual, but it's always good to participate, and thanks for everyone's hard work. With that, let's get a vote counters report.
Just one other quick one, Lee.
Yes.
Just because, just a quick announcement that we do not have any other exceptions to our schedule that we know of. We're going to be in this room for a while. We obviously got bounced out, and sometimes it happens during March Madness. It can still happen, but it has not happened yet. So right now we're expecting to still be in this room.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
If we're not here. where would we
Sure.
be?
So typically, well, it depends. If we, the first thing that happens is we don't get this room because this room is not available. And if that happens, we end up way down the hallway. If you went directly outside this door and go down the long hallway to the other end, there's a room called the garage room. It's called the garage room because it opens with garage doors. And that's our second home. If both rooms are unavailable, which happened a couple of weeks ago, we'll find another location, or we'll probably just go on Zoom. These days, it's easy enough to go on Zoom that we'll probably just do that. So we will still meet, but this is one of the reasons that we get email addresses for everybody so that we can let you know what's going on. And you can always check our homepage, because our homepage will have the locations and whether or not we're Zoom only, hybrid, or have a really bad exception. Okay.
Yeah, let's get a vote counters report.
You have the floor.
We're not doing evaluator, right? So I have counted the votes, and the best table topic speaker goes to Tom. And yes,
I've been to so few in-person meetings.
and the best of the big three goes to John.
And you should
Back to
have,
you, Toastmasters.
hold on, you should have a ribbon for the evaluator and speaker.
Automatic, yeah. So they're automatic, we chose toasting there.
Yeah, just make sure Karen gets her ribbon. All right, with that, the meeting is adjourned.
All right, so as Zoom coordinator, I will be stopping the recording here in just a moment as I get to the menu. Recording will be stopped in 3, 2, oh, and don't forget, you are lucky that I did not get to pick the theme of the meeting, but we will stop the recording now. Thank you so much.